Welcome back to LearnPianoLive.com. My name is Jamin, and as you can tell from the countdown clock, the lesson is about to get started. In case you're new with us, there's a few things I'd like to show you to help you throughout the lesson. So this lesson is about reharmonization. That means we're going to take an existing song and we're going to find new chords to play over the same melody. Now, that means that you're probably going to need to already know about chords and keys and probably intervals, and probably have already several songs that you can play well enough that they actually sound like the song. But even if you can't do that, you might pick up some interesting theory bits along the way. So feel free to join us. The goal, though, is not this song. It's not about the song that we're working on. It's really about taking the concepts you like, the reharmonizations, the substitutions that you like from this lesson, and then applying them to other songs that you already know how to play. These lessons are always guided and shaped by your questions, and if you're live with us today, there's a couple different ways you can do that. One is in the public live chat, and the other is the Ask Jamin a Question button, where you can ask me a question privately, and I won't share your identity in case you're afraid that your question is stupid. But it's not. If you're in the archives, though, then just open up the survey. At the end of that, there's a place where you can ask your question. I will say I frequently get questions from students in the archives watching a lesson from 6 months ago, and I have no idea what they're talking about. So please try to be as specific as possible. If you're watching this at LearnPianoLive.com, there should be a PDF and an MP3 button right next to this video. The PDF will often have additional video links inside, so you can get more in-depth instruction on each of the topics. And if you're the kind of person who likes to print out the PDF so you can make the same notes on your physical version as I'm making during the lesson, now would be the time to do that. The MP3 is just a play-along track so you can practice more after the lesson. In traditional lessons, a teacher is going to actually present some new concept for maybe 5 or 10 minutes every couple weeks. The rest of the time is going to be spent applying and refining those concepts. Well, here I'm spouting off hours of new information every week, so it's totally unreasonable to expect you to actually absorb all of that. Instead, the goal of these live lessons is for you to find some little nugget of something that makes sense, but is a bit of a challenge, and for you to go practice it, because practice is where all the improvement's going to happen. So don't feel bad if you have to leave the live lesson when you find that little thing that you're going to practice. And of course, if I'm going too fast, you can always rewind the live lessons or replay in the archives as much as you want. If these live lessons start feeling random or meandering, it's because they are, on purpose. So if you're the kind of person who wants classical training with a step-by-step method, then you're going to want to check out Kloppel Academy on the website. It's included in your live lesson subscription, so you can do both or either. And the upper levels are seriously hard work, but it's going to take you all the way from ground zero all the way up to being ready to enter any major music college as a piano major in classical or jazz. And thankfully, I think that's about all we need to cover before the lesson. So if you'd stick around afterwards and fill out the survey, I would love your feedback. But for now, let's have some fun and make some music. Welcome back to LearnPianoLive.com. My name is Jamin, and this is the incomparable Kendra. Oh, all the way down here, because the other one
it's
looks
huge.
here. Just show us. Show
What,
us
you
your
wanna see the
big
huge
fat
one?
face. Ah!
This is how horror movies are made.
maybe we resize it next time.
I don't know.
Yeah, that is very up close.
I know.
Your head is like 3 times the size of mine now. Okay, anyway,
Yes.
you were going to say something else maybe?
I don't even know. Guess what? SATs have been rescheduled for like August or September, which makes me really happy because my friend and I were studying for it, and like we had to do FaceTime. It was very difficult to study over FaceTime.
Yeah.
And now we don't have to study right now.
Wonderful. Yeah, I like the last part. Now we don't have to study. That's
Exactly.
great. Yeah. Well, today is one of those super excited, super scared, terrified lessons for me because this song is so I don't know. I like it already the way that it is, and sometimes when we go in to reharm these things, they just end up being messed up. But I guess we're going to find that out over the next 45 minutes, and if nothing else, we're going to learn a few principles of how you could reharmonize a song if it weren't a song that you were already in love with. So we have the record. Your play along is the recording of Kendra singing the lyrics to this and me playing the intro. And if we just played the chords, I'm going to go ahead and do step 1 here. If you go to learnpianolive.com/reharm, then you get all of like the wheels, the spinning wheels that we're going to use today and stuff. But the first thing that we do is add in 7s and 9s and 6s to chords. So and Kendra, we're going to need to zoom out for this one so we can see all the notes. Pretty much for all the reharm videos, we'll want to be zoomed out at the beginning. So I'm going to play all 7s and 9s and 6s for these chords instead of the regular ones that we learned in the tutorial. So I'm not going to help you learn how to play any of the notes here because we already went through all of that in its entirety in another lesson. So we won't do the next one, play the 5 of any chord before it. We'll wait to do that one. But just the play along track with the chords is this. Here we go.
Joke, you're broke, your love life's dear away. It's like you're always stuck in second gear when it hasn't been your day, your week, your month, or even your year. I'll be there for you when the rain starts to pour, and I'll be there for you like I've been there before. I'll be there for you 'cause you're there for me too.
So that's all of the notes, just the way that they would be if we added in 7s and 9s. I had to experiment a little bit there at the beginning because the first one I would play would be an A. We're in the key of A, so I'd play an A major 7. But the melody has this note in it here, which really conflicts with that major 7 chord. So I kind of had to turn that into an A7. Just because the conflicting melody there. I can't have a G sharp in the chord and have a G in the melody. Okay, so that first one I think I'd play as an A7. But then the rest of them are just what we would expect to see in each of the keys, in the key of A, with the exception of this G, which is not in the key of A, but I was playing it as a G major 7. Okay, so if that stuff doesn't make sense, that you either need to go back to the tutorial on this song or do the chord building workshop so that you know how to build these chords. But if we're all good so far, then we are ready to reharm, which is in itself a kind of an advanced concept, which is why saying that this is like the beginner version of this. Are we on? Oh, we're on the synth shot. That's what's going on there.
What?
Yeah, far tablet. There we go. A little bit more of that. Thank you. No problem. So this is like the beginner version of the reharm lesson, and the reharm lesson is an advanced lesson in and of itself. So first thing we want to do is play the 5 before any chord. So the 5 of any of these would totally work. The A right here, it lasts for the whole entire intro. So that's all just A7. So there's not a lot to put anything before there, except for right here we've got a G. So before the G, we could put in the 5 of G. Now, a couple different ways to do this. Either one, we could just play the G chord and say, what is the 5 of this? Well, this is the 1, this is the 3, and that's the 5. So that would be the 5 of a G. We're not quite there yet, but we have answered the question, what is the 5 of a G? A D is the 5 of a G, and so we would play a D chord or a D7 chord. So we could play a D7 right here because it is the 5 of G. Another way to do it is to use the circle of fifths, and the circle of fifths is right down here, and the 5 of a chord can always be found clockwise from that chord. So if we want to know what is the 5 of G, the answer is D. A D leads into a G because a D is the 5 of a G. So it works for any chord using the circle of fifths, which is why it's there on that next resource sheet there for you. So then we come back up to here. We go, okay, so the D7 could lead into a G. An E7 could lead into an A because E7 is the 5 of A. Leading into the C sharp minor, a G sharp, 7 would lead into a C sharp. So this chord right here would lead into this one. And then this one right here, let's put in one more 5 going into the B minor. I'm picking these pretty randomly, and we've got a lot of song to cover here. So we're kind of doing this one a little bit faster than we would normally do, and we usually only do like 1 or 2 chords. So I'm kind of throwing these in quickly. But an F sharp 7, I had a feeling.
Hey, Jamin, it's time for the feature of the day.
Yes, it is.
Today is the tip of the day.
Yes, the tip of the day today is that has nothing to do with chords at all. So this is a fingering thing. So a lot of questions recently, especially when we were getting into some of the faster moves in some of the tutorials, about how we figure out what fingers to use where. And everyone feels like there's a right way to do most things, and that's just not true. So what I recommend is go to the last note in a phrase. If you've got some really fast phrase like, let's say this one right here. What is the right fingering for that one? Well, I just used that fingering right there. Another fingering that would be perfectly fine is, or another finger that would be perfectly fine is. These are all great ways to do the exact same thing. So what I'd recommend is you go to the last note of whatever phrase it is you're trying to figure out and just say, all right, well, eventually I'm going to have to land on this note right here, and then work your way backwards. So trying to figure out it from the beginning almost never works. So this note right here, I'd like to end on my pointer finger because I like playing with the pointer finger or the thumb. Those are kind of, and my middle finger, those are kind of like the 3 fastest fingers. So if at all possible, I'd like to end on my pointer finger and then just ask myself, is there a way to get all of those notes in and land on my pointer finger? And there is. So probably this right here would be the most convenient way to play that all together. Whereas if I was just like starting out like we're in the key of A and it starts on a C sharp. And because I've played so many major scales, the tendency would be to start on that 3 finger just like I do when I'm playing the scales. But that means that somewhere in here I run out of fingers and I've got to like cross over or do something like that. So start at the end, say, all right, I want to end right here, and then just try to branch out. One other thing to take into consideration when you're figuring out fingering is the span of notes that you have to play. So if I wanted to end here on my thumb, you know, if I want to say, okay, well, that's my last note and I want to end on my thumb, then that's cool, but the span of my notes is these. So I at least have to use something like that or something like that, or I guess that's the only way to get 4 fingers in there. I could do that right there. That would be a weird but okay fingering where I'm leaving out my ring finger. The ring finger is the worst finger in the world. It's the least obedient. The pinky is the weakest, so we don't like to use the pinky because it's weak, but it's pretty obedient. This one is a lot stronger, but it just doesn't do what we want it to do. So if we want to leave out the ring finger, you could do that. That'd be super weird. Or you could leave out the pointer finger and do that. None of these are wrong. These are all great ways to do it. But take into consideration the span of the notes that you have to play, and then also start from the end, the last note of the phrase, and then work your way forward to find out the fingering for almost any phrase. And then in some cases, you have to break the phrase into 2 parts because it just doesn't work that well. It just doesn't work. You're crazy. It doesn't work that well to do large phrases and just try to get them all within 5 fingers. So those are the tips, and I guess it's time to get back to the song after this short break. So sadly, the lesson preview has come to an end, and it's time to say goodbye to everyone watching the free streams. Of course, paying subscribers at learnpianolive.com can continue watching this lesson and several hundred others like it in the archives. So come on over and check us out, and if you like what you saw, at least like and subscribe, and then tell your friends to head on over to learnpianolive.com to start enjoying this journey with us.